I'm here to tell you, you don't need a perfect diet. You need better habits. Let's dive in. Oh, you feeling tired? Feeling sluggish? Today, we're going to take some time and break down some simple nutrition swaps that will boost your energy without complicating the diet. So grab your coffee, your tea, whatever may fuel you, and let's chat. So I have myself overcomplicated these things time and time again. And that's why I've created the Eat to Thrive diet. That's why it's what I have, or not the Eat to Thrive diet, sorry, the Eat to Thrive program. I don't like calling it a diet because it's not a diet. It's a program to teach you these better habits when it comes to nutrition. And that's a big thing. And I think food, the big discussion around food, it gets convoluted in the macros, the micros, which is all important. Don't get me wrong. Okay, so don't preface this with this all matters. But at the beginning of things, when people are really trying to start and they're feeling confused and kind of just like, where do I start with this? What macros and all this stuff? Like, yes, all that's important. But remember this too. If you get caught up in it all and you get overwhelmed and maybe like you just don't make any choices and maybe you're not eating at that point, well, now we don't have energy. And food really is for energy, not just for the calories. Like that's the main thing I want to get across to start today's episode off is know that like, yeah, calories are calories, but what are those things? Like break down the macronutrients, protein, fats, carbs. They all produce energy. I don't give a damn what anybody else says. They do. Like there's other factors to it, right? Yes, fats go into hormone production and there is an essential amount that we need to eat in order to survive. And if we don't eat those, we can end up dying essentially or just not thriving and barely surviving. And then protein is another essential, right? That goes into a bunch of amino acids. And then you go into like the essential amino acids, the nine, and you break that down a whole lot farther. And then carbohydrates and how they play a huge role into helping us get glycogen, which is our main source or the body's kind of primary thing to pull on for energy. Now, that doesn't mean all of them don't go into playing or into creating energy. So you need to be eating food in order to create energy. So if you're feeling sluggish, if you're feeling tired, assess your diet, right? Understanding something called your basal metabolic rate and your total daily energy expenditure. So your BMR, basal metabolic rate, and your TDEE, total daily energy expenditure, can really help you figure out, oh, am I eating enough for the demands of my life and everything? You might not be. And that could be the start of why you're feeling sluggish and feeling so tired all the time, is because we're just not getting enough for what our demands are and what our body really needs. And I'm not going to get into like the specifics of all that in today's episode. You know what though? I do have a guide. It's literally called Your Body and Its Energy, and it breaks all this down. I have a link to a BMR and TDEE calculator that you can use. So if you want that, either comment below if you're watching this on YouTube, or follow the email in the description and or the Instagram page, and just shoot me a DM or an email and just say Your Body and Its Energy, and I will make sure that guy gets sent over right away. By the time this episode drops, if I have it on a website platform, then I will make sure that that comes your way too. My website's pretty basic right now, where I don't have the option to have like a bunch of guides and stuff through there, but I'm upgrading here soon, so bear with me. But if you do want that, I have it, breaks it down a lot further. But really, just the basic gist of that is BMR is the amount of calories your body needs to survive, right? Like if you were just to lay in bed all day, do nothing, that type of stuff, and there's a lot more that goes into it. The guy breaks it down. But it's pretty much the amount of energy your body needs to survive. Energy meaning calories. Now, total daily energy expenditure goes into a couple different factors. And the things that play a role into your BMR would be your height, your weight, your sex, right? Now, of course, like if you are somebody who is transgender, or are of that realm, then that's totally fine. Like, I just make sure you go off of, and I know it's hard to say this, but this is the way you're biologically born, because that's just the way the body is going to utilize energy and all that stuff. So just take that into account. But same thing, right? So height, weight, sex, and then also body fat percentage. If you don't know your body fat percentage, you don't necessarily need it for the calculator I have, but it does help. Total daily energy expenditure, same thing. But we also start to incorporate our activity level. Now, activity level is kind of weird, and when you go through these things, it'll have like sedentary all the way through extremely active. Now, somebody who thinks they train 5 days a week might be like, oh, I'm extremely active. Well, hey, hold up. Focus on the rest of your day. Now, steps are probably the easiest way to equate this for most people. And then also adding in like the training and stuff that you're doing, right? So if like we have somebody who's, let's say, walking 8,000 to 10,000 steps a day, and they train 3 days a week, full body, maybe that training session's 30 minutes to an hour, I would say like that person's moderately active. I wouldn't say they're highly active or extremely active. Now, here's why. Because that same person has a desk job. That same person 5 days a week is sitting down for 8 hours a day, maybe standing on their feet, but they're not moving around very much because they're locked into a desk job. Now, on the flip side of that, somebody who is maybe getting 15,000 steps, but only train, or maybe they do train then 3 days a week too, right? Same training split, but then they also have a job in construction, and maybe they also do some running for their cardio. Like that person would be more in the highly active to possibly extremely active, depending on like what their job demands are in that construction position. But just so you understand like how that looks if you go to break this down further for yourself, right? So total daily energy expenditure is the amount of energy your body needs in the day based on those demands we just talked about, right? Now, of course, energy meaning calories. So understanding that, I think, is like key here, because like I said, if you're feeling sluggish, if you're feeling tired, you just might not be eating enough for what your total daily energy expenditure truly is. So I would start there, understand that first. And then I think we need to talk about the processed versus whole foods. Like, why do these things affect energy levels? And it kind of goes into the both points I want to talk about here, and that's the blood sugar balance, right? So blood sugar balance goes into why you're feeling those crashes that lead to fatigue. And a lot of the times this goes into the processed food versus whole food discussion. The reason why I gun for whole foods is this right here. The processed foods, I mean, I could go grab any processed food. I have some of it in my fridge, right? I have some in my cabinets. I have kids at home. I have some of it. Most of the time, we are eating pretty whole foods, but we have them. Now, if I go grab those things, I can guarantee you that they're going to be very low in protein. They're going to be high in carbs and high in fat, and sometimes saturated fats, and it's a whole nother discussion. And then also high in calories. So it's like, okay, oh, sweet. Oh, also high in added sugars. Not natural sugars, but like added sugar. Sugar that was created in a factory, right? And processed. Now, what does that do? Well, when we have the carbs and all this processed sugar, fats, not as big of a deal, but fats is more for like long-term energy. It's more like we're looking at the carbs and the low protein and all that. Well, that goes into insulin resistance and the blood sugar. Now, when we have these types of things, let's say we start our day with like a big old bowl of cereal, right? And that's it. Now, if you're doing like something like Magic Spoon, no affiliation with them or anything, but they're doing great things with their protein cereal, which has way less sugar, higher protein content, all that. But if you're like me, parent on a budget and stuff, sometimes that stuff's a little hard to make happen. So let's say you're having the big sugary bowl of cereal, right? It's high in carbs, high in sugar, all that stuff. And then midday, not even midday yet, but like maybe mid-morning to afternoon, lunchtime, you start to crash really, really hard. And here's what's happening, right? When you have that sugar and everything and the carbs, right, which are fast acting when it comes to its ability to pull on it for energy. Let's imagine this. Boom, we're going up, right? Woo, feeling good. But then what happens, because that processed sugar, its ability to stay in the bloodstream is not the same as if we're getting that sugar from, let's say, fruit, for instance, where it's more long lasting, it's quick. So now it releases and boom, we have this crash where everything starts to, it spikes and then everything starts to come down. And it's this kind of crazy wave. And then also as it's coming down, we start to feel more cravings. We want to go for that food more often. And it just creates this cycle of this spike in energy to a crash in fatigue, to a spike in energy, to a bigger crash in fatigue until the end of the day where we're just like kind of grueling trying to get through it. And we might not even be like playing with our kids to the best of our ability, which studies have shown that's when they feel the most loved. Like at least the age range that I'm at right now, right at 4 to 7 years old. But that's my spiel on that, right? Like it's not that you can't have the processed foods, right? Like I just said, we have them every now and again too, but having the whole foods, like that's going to be a better bet for you to control these blood sugar levels throughout the day and to make sure that you are truly eating to thrive, not just to survive. Okay. Now, let's get into what that looks like. Let's talk about some of the AXEARE simple nutrition swaps that we can get into. First things first, breakfast. Let's talk about that. Well, we just talked about cereal. So let's take that cereal, that sugary cereal, swap that out for a protein and a healthy fat. Now, ideally, I like to just go whole eggs here because you can get both of those things from that. I'll just go whole eggs and then I'll go fruit. That's my breakfast majority of the mornings. Whole eggs, I go, and here's the way I'll do it. I'll go 4 whole eggs. Now, if we add up the protein, it's about 6 grams of protein per egg. 6, 12, 18, 24. I need about 30 to 50 grams to like start out my day in order for me to reach my goal daily. So what I do then is I have a protein coffee. So now that's another 24 grams. Now I'm at 48 grams for breakfast. So I have my whole eggs, my fruit, berries preferably, because their ability also to, like I said, long lasting in the bloodstream and fiber content is huge there to start the day off. That's going to really help kind of maintain and get those blood sugar levels to a good level, but then it's going to hold, right? Like this is what's really going to help that stay at a consistent level in the morning and help you feel really, really good going into the rest of the day. Now, this is where we might have a snack in between dinner or in between lunch and stuff like that. Now, lunch, I would just have a really balanced lunch, right? I would have the carbs, I would have the fats, I would have the protein. Ideally, I would try to get the fats and the protein from the same source. So going like for a fattier meat source like chicken thigh, maybe a red meat if you're somebody who eats red meat, a fish if you enjoy fish. I would go those routes. And then for the carbs, I would go veggies for sure. And then go like potatoes and stuff next down from that. And then I would go maybe into like the beans and then rice and stuff from there. But for snacks, let's ditch those processed snacks. Yeah, what's up?
Can I listen to my music?
Sure you can. Give me one sec. Let me get his music going for him. Now for snacks, let's ditch those processed snacks for whole food alternatives, right? So instead of having the granola bar and stuff, which they taste great, bro. Like don't get me wrong, I'd be smacking those down sometimes. I'd be like, sorry kids, they're mine. But I end up noticing that same thing. I feel good really fast, and then I have a weird crash and fatigue. So I would go for like caution when I say this, nuts and berries. Now, nuts you have to be careful about because of their calorie content as well. Or, sorry, they have a lot of calories for a small amount. So if you don't want to go that route and you want to be more conservative, I would say just go for, I love like rice cakes.
It fell off again. It did
I got you.
this.
I was saying before I run out of space here on my card, I have 3 minutes left. I would go for that. It's a nice snack. It's great. And then you can have some berries on the side as well, or have another protein shake with it. I think that's kind of where I usually go, especially if I'm really busy. It's an easy thing to whip up. Takes 2 seconds. Now for dinner, I am blessed by the wife gods that my wife just enjoys cooking. I'll cook, but I just don't cook it up like she does. My stuff would be pretty I wouldn't say bland. I just would have to learn how to spice it up like she does and make it taste as good as she does. But here, like, same thing. We're just looking for a balanced plate. We're trying to have protein, that fiber source, healthy fats. And you can go for like that starch with, like I was saying, going for the potatoes and then maybe some type of grain if you go that route. But I'm really trying to push myself into a more kind of meat, veggie, and fruit type of stuff, and then I kind of fill in from there. So those would be my recommendations. Now, don't forget, you can start to change out some of those sugary drinks for water, right? Keep them on the hydration. If you didn't listen to the last episode, go check that one out. We talk a little bit more about why that's important when it comes to, or actually, no, 2 episodes ago, but why that's important for you taking care of yourself as an unbreakable parent out there. And then electrolytes. If you're making these swaps to whole foods, you might start to notice headaches and fatigue as well and be like, what the heck am I doing? I did everything Coach Devontae said. Well, look at your electrolytes. You might need to look into just putting a pinch of Himalayan salt or sea salt in your water, or even looking into LMNT, but I'm trying to save y'all money. I love what they got going, but if you don't have the money, I feel it. Pinch of sea salt also works. Now, I want you all to pick one of these swaps for this week. What's the small change that's going to lead to big results for you? Drop it in the comments, let me know, or shoot me a DM if you want to be a little more personal. I'll help you stay accountable with your goals. Remember, you're all capable of being unbreakable. Let's lay those foundations right. Let's make those foundations unbreakable so you can stand on them for time to come. Let's go, everybody. I'll see you for the next episode.